Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 5 of the Amanda Natanda Show. I'm Amanda, and thank you guys for watching. This season, we have a totally different vibe as we go topical, and we'll be focused on cherishing the men in every aspect, from their mental health to their emotional and social well being, which will eventually unpack my journey in the last 2 years towards the end of the season. So don't miss any episode for you to understand my journey with the help of my phenomenal guests who shed some light through their own journeys as well, which will eventually make sense towards the end of the season. Without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest today. A hotelier, business, and hospitality consultant with the mission of changing the landscape of the industry in Africa by providing solutions for stakeholders working the space, from owners, guests, staff, and suppliers alike. Mr. Kudakwashe Makore. Welcome, Kuda, on season 5 of the Amanda Natando Show.
I just want to start off by saying congratulations on your 5th season.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's like when I spoke to you the other day and you're like, for season 5, I was like, hang on, how are you on season 5?
I know, right?
So I tell you, just to see your growth from where you started, because I might not have been contributing as much to the growth. I was just visualizing, and
Right.
I've seen the progression, I've seen the growth, I've seen where you started. I mean, we were just talking earlier on about the level at which you invite guests now to the show, completely different. Absolutely amazing production work. I must tell you that your efforts are very, very recognizable. Yeah, take it from me. I'm extremely honored to be on this, to be like your first guest. I was like, what have I done? What did I do wrong? So
you will know what you did right.
So the honor is all
Not
mine
wrong.
to be a guest at your show. Thank you so much for extending me the invite, really.
No, it is truly an honor. And, based on your experience and ability to share your knowledge as a fellow host as well, which is the one main thing. I was like, this guy is so outspoken. I love the way he's just like out there. Teaching and these are the topics that we need to bring to light, right? And having you, we remember the last time when we were talking about on the Tough Love podcast, when we we're talking God being the foundation. I'm like, okay, this is a good way to start season 5. Let's go back to the foundation. And the best person to do that is you, right? And as a fellow co-host who has conversations with Kuda, for those who do not know Kuda, follow Kuda on his socials. You will see what I'm talking about. So we're just going to start by discussing the effect of unresolved childhood trauma in marriage or relationships. So this discussion was long coming, like I was saying, because of our last discussion on the podcast. So it's quite interesting, and I look forward to it.
It is.
Right?
You see, it is. I mean, I think about you. You said when you're doing the not intro that you said you're not going to do. You said I thought you were the best person to come and to speak about this, but I do acknowledge the compliment. But what I really hope to achieve is just speak my truth.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we get lost, especially when you talk about these sort of topics. People sometimes start looking at you as if you're speaking as an authority. I don't have a degree in psychology, but I live in a world where a part of me needs to think psychologically, so I'm here to share my experience and my journey, and not so much how it should be. A lot of times we spend a lot of time telling people about motivation, but we don't tell them about what the process and the practical of it is. So what I do hope to share more than anything is my journey and my truth as well, which is the foundation from which I can dig from,
Right. Which is so awesome. That reminds me of yesterday. I actually saw a saying yesterday that says the best education is taught by yourself more than anything, because of life experiences, right? So what you're just saying right there is based off of your experience, and hence the reason why even season 5 is going to be based on my experience. But guess what? Your experiences are going to tally with what, with my journey as well. But people need to understand that we're all connected in some way. You understand? And one story, the reason why we have stories is because they can be relatable to somebody else, right?
Correct.
And
Right.
having to motivate somebody is because you never know how somebody might be going through something or how they can get out
Okay.
of it. But when they hear your story, they're like, wow, I'm not the first, neither
Right.
am I the last. But guess what? If he can make it, I can make it. If she can make it, I can make it. This is just a season.
Right.
You understand? So when
Right.
we
And
brought this
sometimes,
project together, yeah, go
right.
ahead. Sorry.
And sometimes, you know what it is, Amanda. It's not so much if he can do it, if he can get through it, I can also get through it. I think it's also the realization that if he can go through it, right, not
That's
get
it.
through it. Because I think a lot of
Mm,
times, I mean, me giving my thoughts and how I deal with stuff,
mm,
um, is not me saying that I have dealt with everything, right? It's me saying
mm,
I'm going through this because we're all in a
mm,
transitional journey. So if we're looking for
mm,
people that have made it, right, we might be
mm,
stuck with
mm,
very few examples. But if we are looking at people that are going through it, because what you really want to know is that you're not in the fire on your own. There's more of us in the
mm,
fire, right? Even if
mm,
we can't help
mm.
each other right at the end, we can help each other right in the middle of it, because that's where it
Right,
hurts the most when you're going through it.
right.
And just to know that, you see, sometimes it only helps when, imagine if there was a big fire, right, and you thought you were in the house on your own, and the house started
Right,
burning, right?
right,
You would be
right.
so scared, right? Until someone
Mhm.
makes a noise upstairs and says to you, "No, I'm also here," right? Doesn't mean the fire is
Right.
going away. It just means that it helps to know that there's someone else in the same thing that you're going through. Somebody else is going through the same thing.
Which is amazing. This is a good way to start the conversation, Kuna. I
Right.
love the fact that you said you don't, because if he went through it, right? Is no, I said if he went through it or if he got through it.
Gone through it. So if I've already gone through this, right?
Yeah.
So you're
Mm.
looking at more examples that have made it, that have conquered it, right? And
Right.
yet some don't get make it. Some don't get to make it to the end, you know.
Right.
But what's
Right.
important to know is that in the house that is burning, you're not on your own. Others are in the same house. Others have
Right.
gone out of the house. Others are still at the
Right.
door trying to get into the house. So at every single stage, you need
Uh,
assurance that at this
uh,
stage, I'm not the only one. At this stage, I'm not the only one. At this stage, and even if I do make it to the end, I still have mentors at that level that are like, oh no,
right.
yeah, I went through that. But right now, maybe you
Right.
don't need a, and I went through that guy. You need a, I'm
Mm.
also in that.
Right, which is good. Now you've brought back my my chain of thought. So what I was about to say, having to start off this conversation because we're talking about marriage and relationships, and we've realized that sorry, we've just realized that this topic has been dreaded being talked about for generations now. Only millennials, of course, the crazy ones, we're called the wild ones or whatever. The fearless people choose to tackle such controversial topics where we bring now the men into the mix. The men talk about the now we're going gender related. I know some people may say, oh my gosh, why are we going gender specific, or why the men, because I know a lot of people do not even want to talk about it. Some people even said, oh yeah, guess what, I'm not going to watch the show. I'm like, dude, it's because there's a lot that you're hiding. Men are told to mask things. Men are told not to show their emotions. Men are taught not to show their feelings, express who they are or whatever. But then if you see somebody else going through it, if they're able to talk about it and save their marriage and save their relationship, why can you not? Why do we have this issue among men? And it's now not only, from my research, not only among the Black culture. You understand? It's now, even if you look at the stats, talk about the suicide rates around the world, Russia being the biggest. You understand? In men. And you're thinking, no, it's actually a worldwide crisis, global crisis, rather than just
Right.
saying, okay, because of where I come from. Because when I had this vision was based off of where we come from, because we have this whole, oh yeah, the man has to be macho, and the man has to take care of the house, the man has to protect and provide. And you see the Western culture is, you go 50-50 on things. There's now feminism in the mix and all that jazz. So at first I thought it was a black situation, but I guess
Right.
now it is a global situation. What's your take
Right.
on that?
Yeah, that's a yeah. You like touched on like 7 different things. So you
That's
spoke
it.
about
That's
yeah,
it.
you spoke about marriage. You I think you touched a little bit or hinted on gender, right? And
Hmm.
you spoke about culture. You spoke about
Hmm.
feminism. Yeah, you
Hmm.
spoke about race as well. So I think holistically, putting all those factors into play, and I think where you're trying to drill on is why have men in this age or men been, not given a platform or represented in issues of equality and feelings and emotion and stuff. And I'll tell you that it's a true tier. I think the answer for that, or my take on it, is it goes to the female and to the males. I think males have been
Hmm.
cowardice. Males are scared of
Hmm.
speaking. And I think
But
the
why
real
is
reason that
that?
that men,
Yeah.
I will tell you, because I mean, let's go background, right? So if you go background, you learn that as a man, you're taught that strength is seen physically, right?
Mm.
And so
Okay.
it's your ability to not drop a tear when you're feeling emotional,
Hmm.
right? So if you go against that norm, the real reason why people don't want to come out is because of shame. I'll tell you that.
Hmm. Hmm.
People are not scared of stealing because of getting caught. People really don't steal because they're scared of being shamed if they were caught. I don't know if that makes sense.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
If I said to you, Amanda, we can rob a bank for £1 million. For a million, let's
Let's
say,
do
let's
that.
say, let's say dollars, right? Because you're in
Let's
Canada,
do
right?
that.
Y'all use dollars,
Let's do that.
right? So if I say,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, work with
Yeah.
me. If I said, listen, I've got a way for us to rob a bank for a million
Hmm.
for $1 million, we will never get caught. No one will ever find out,
Hmm.
right? It's highly likely that you'll take that deal. The only reason sometimes people are not involved in crime is because they're really scared of getting caught. And not so much when
Okay.
they get caught is what would the world say? So the issue
Hmm.
of men not speaking, to be honest, many times it's the shame that is associated with sharing some of the most intimate parts of your life,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Or some of your
Hmm.
most intimate struggles.
Hmm.
That's what scares a lot of people. So it's I think the fear of being shamed because society has not created um, enough room for men to be able to speak about the issues that they go through. So you think, okay,
Hmm.
if I do talk about this, then I'm going to be considered a failure. If I speak about this, people will say I'm weak. If I spoke about the fact that, hey, listen, I'm struggling with this, people will say, well, but you're a man, you need to thug it out. So men have been designed to be robots, for lack of a better word, right? These are the
And
tasks.
that was good. I was going to. That was gonna be my very next question. Kuti, I know this question is gonna seem weird or silly, but you know what? People need to pay attention, and you've already said it. I was gonna ask: are men not human too? You understand? Are men
Right.
not human too?
But see, I promise you, it just reminded me of the Me Too movement, because that could be a hashtag on its own. Are men not human
Well,
too?
that's it. But that's it.
Yeah. There's so much neglect on the emotional side of men, which is
Mm-hmm.
weird. Which is weird because it is only your emotions. I mean, if you really understand, I'll go back to the good book, right? We are spirits that live
Mm-hmm.
in a body that has
Mm-hmm.
a soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if that
Mm-hmm.
is the design of what human is, then men are
Mm-hmm.
spirits that live in bigger
Mm-hmm.
bodies, but they also have
Mm-hmm.
souls. Your soul is where your emotions are. That's where your feelings are.
That's
So
it.
people only are concerned about the spiritual side of the man and the physical side of the man, like the body.
Mm-hmm.
But no one really
Mm-hmm.
says, let's talk about a man's soul.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
even if you look at it, so men are encouraged to be strong spiritually. You have to be the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual lead of the house. and you have to be strong physically and financially to be able to support the structure of the house, right?
Yes, the pressure
But no
on
one
you
talks
guys.
about
Thank God I'm not a man.
wait. Nobody then says you need to be emotionally balanced. You need to be emotionally
That's it.
intelligent, right?
But
That
what
part
is
is so
emotional
triggered.
intelligence? What is emotional
Emotional
intelligence?
intelligence
People
for
always,
me,
always, yeah.
I think emotional intelligence for me is the ability to regulate your feel. It's regulating, it's finding balance, right? You can't have high highs and low lows. I don't know if that makes sense,
That's it. Okay. Yeah.
right? You need to
Yep.
find
Yep.
emotional balance, emotional intelligence. So if I come to you every day, Amanda, right, and let's say I know what triggers your emotions, right?
That's me. Okay. And use that
Right.
against
So
me.
let's say
Okay.
I know that I'll tell you. So let's say I know you've got insecurities with your weight, right? If I knew that, the only way to get your attention emotionally would just be to tell you. If I walked past you, I'll be like, "You gained weight, didn't you?" Right? That would trigger you, right? Follow me. You have to work with me here.
I am working
That
with
would
you
trigger
because
you.
right there, that's exactly like my journey. Let's go. But not on the way part, but go
So
on.
if I said to you, listen, if I said to you, Amanda, you you gained a little bit of weight immediately because you've got an issue around weight, right? You will flip and be like, why would you say that? That's so insensitive. Do you not know that people don't talk about people's weights like that? You're body shaming me, da 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 da. So you give me the da 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 da, right? I come back and I apologize. I'm like, yo, I'm sorry I said that to you, right? And then 2 days later, I walk past you and I'm like, you say, hey, baby, let's get some food. And then I say, you're hungry again? Your reaction is, you'll be like,
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wow.
If I said that to you 2 days
Wow.
later, what are you going to do? You are going to say, I told you it's insensitive. Are you saying that I've
Yeah.
got an eating disorder? Blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. You get at me, right?
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
then I come back and I'm like, I'm so sorry for what I said. I shouldn't have said that. Right? And then
So
a
does
week,
it not
wait,
now?
wait, wait,
Is
wait.
that not
I haven't finished. I
narcissistic
haven't finished.
behavior? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait. Then next week I come back. So I'm trying to, so every time, so you could be having a good day. And the moment I say you're eating again, you have a bad day. So you hit an emotional psh, right?
Mm, 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 mm.
So emotional intelligence for me is changing your reaction to the things that trigger you. So if I know
But
you
how
only
do
say
you
that to get
balance
my
that though?
attention,
Okay.
sorry.
I
So if
was
I
gonna
come to
say,
you,
so how do you balance that then? Because of course, if it's something that's really sensitive like that, I don't think there's a better way to react with anything.
there is. So the better way to react with that is everything, in my opinion, right, is
Okay.
to go a step backwards, right? People only know what triggers you because it really triggers you. So you need to
How
start
about
looking
How about now? Let me take you to Tough Love, the Tough Love podcast, where we spoke about
right.
insecurities, and you brought up a good example to say maybe you have a weight issue because, of course, you have a weight. You know that. What if you know you have a big body? You're big bodied. That's fine, but you're comfortable in your body. You understand? But not that you're comfortable. It's something that maybe it's generic. You never know. Like it's in your family. It's you can't change it. It's life. You understand?
Correct.
Unless you go for surgery or something that can literally do something in
Right.
a drastic way. So you've accepted, let's put it that way, you've accepted it's something that you cannot change, it's something that you cannot whatever. But when somebody,
Right.
let's say 20 years now, 20 years down the line, somebody brings it up and then it turns into a
Right.
trigger without you knowing. You understand? Because at the end of
So
the
so
day
what,
you've been comfortable
I
all these
understand.
years.
Right. All these years. So what it really meant, what it really means is that you hadn't dealt with that, right? It still followed you. You
Okay.
just never had an opportunity. You just never had an opportunity for it to be confronted. So I'll give you an example. You can't claim, right? Me, I smoke cigarettes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that. Oh, trust me, I know
So
that.
I can't say,
Yeah.
let me tell you, I can't say I don't smoke anymore, and yet I've spent the last. I can't say I haven't smoked. I don't smoke anymore. Cigarettes don't have an effect on me anymore, right? For the
Okay.
last 12 months, and then you
Yeah.
find out that I was staying in a place where they don't sell cigarettes for the last 12 months. I haven't dealt with the cigarette issue. I just don't have access to it. So when someone triggers you 20 years later, it means that you never actually dealt with it. You were just not in a position for you to be triggered. If you surround yourself with people that trigger you every day, that's when you can grow from trigger, not running away. So if you were with a person that was abusive and kept talking about your weight or your face or your height or your, like, if I had a partner that kept saying to me, oh, you're short, or you're short, or you're short, right? And they left me
Mm,
because of that. If
mm,
I don't deal with the fact that ain't nothing wrong with being short, I love the short me, right? And then I'm
mm,
with someone
mm.
else and they say the same thing, but this time I say to them, maybe you're too tall. Have you ever thought about that? I've got to come
Ish.
back now. Yeah, I've got to come
Even
back.
that reminds me, yes, that reminds me of somebody on Clubhouse who was so petite. So petite. Who has ever had an issue with being petite? Like nobody. You understand? Okay,
Right,
until I heard this issue. Until I heard
right.
this story, to the point that somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so tiny," But it didn't sound so bad to me. Is oh yeah, yeah, I'm petite. I would have, or maybe a lot of people
You would have
wouldn't,
taken it as a compliment, right?
as a compliment. You understand? But they didn't take it as a compliment. They're like, why would you body shame me? Why is it you think being tiny is not the same as being told you're big? Hey yo, I was like, okay, this is a new one.
So the lesson was,
That's
you know,
exactly what you did.
so you know what the lesson, so you know what the lesson there is? The
Hmm. Hmm.
lesson is, listen, if you think that you've got a big body,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
What that means is that you don't love yourself, not your body,
absolutely,
yourself,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, that's
Because
true.
what will happen is if if you go for surgery and get a smaller body, do you know what's going to happen? Because you don't love yourself, you will find self something to complain about yourself.
Mm, mm,
So
that's
you will
it.
now start saying, I'm too small. Or you start finding another problem that's wrong with you. So what you haven't healed is not the physical manifestation. So if you got fat
Mm,
today, thin tomorrow, what you haven't healed really is you. You don't like you. Until you
mm,
start loving yourself, it doesn't matter what body you find yourself in. Because
jeez.
in one season you can gain weight, in the next you can
Mm,
lose. If I only loved me because I had cool hair, what happens when I start balding?
hey,
So you need to love yourself so much that you're comfortable in whatever body you find
it
yourself in it,
changes.
what it is.
Yeah, yeah, it
Because even if
changes.
you lose body, if you lose weight, what if you get pregnant and you gain weight?
Guy, I will stay in the gym.
But I don't know, but you understand,
No, I'm
if you
just
want to talk
messing with
about,
you. I get you.
if you want to talk about trauma, right, which is what we wanted
Mhm.
to talk about, the
Yeah,
resolve,
which
I
is
just want to
what
delve
we are
into
going to be
actually.
talking about.
Yeah, just to bring context to healing and loving yourself and
Mm,
the dealing with childhood trauma. The
mm,
idea is, unless you are aware of what your childhood experiences, right,
mm,
caused
mm,
inside you, like what part of yourself you hated because of your experiences,
mm,
unless you
mm, mm.
identify that, because a lot of people don't even know that they've got childhood trauma,
That's it. And that's it.
right?
And that's the worst. I like it's funny you say that because I only did a discovery of my own childhood trauma when
Right.
now in my 30s. I'm like, wow, I didn't know. So all these years, this is the reason why I was behaving this way. You understand? And now that's when you get to learn, study behavior, study people's behavior and stuff like that. And you even hear, say, maybe now, right now, as we talk about relationships and marriage, right? And you hear your partner saying something that's, you know, could be an insecurity, but they don't realize it. It could be an insecurity, but then because of your actions, they will tell your partner that, oh my gosh, if they have gone through learning life in that way, or if they have also gotten to experience that there's what we call trauma, there's what we call, childhood trauma, or whatever it is that somebody may be going through, right? But unless you have gone through it, or have searched yourself, gotten to know you, or have studied other people, I think it can only make sense that way. Or maybe if you grew up, in a family background where they open up to these discussions,
Mm.
which I find to be rare, especially in our
Right.
culture. You
Yeah.
understand? So
Yeah.
how then, you mentioned, Kuti, unless you know it. What if somebody, your spouse, and in this case, we're talking about your wife, right?
Mhm.
Having to know that, no, Kuda grew up this way because you shared your past, you shared your childhood stories, you shared your whatever, and your wife got to understand that, right? But then there's a part of you that you do not know about you. How do you think should be able to address it without triggering anything? Because clearly you
Right.
may not know as a man,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
And then pride kicks in as
Mm-mm.
a man,
Mm.
because you don't want to be told anything. I don't
The
know.
devil himself.
Or you think, I have you understand. That's it.
Mm.
And then you will seem as though it'll come off as a weakness. I have no idea. So how do we tackle that for somebody who doesn't know? And your partner comes through and says, hey babe, but do you not think, the way you reacted was based off of, can we explore this? Can we
Right.
dig
So
deeper
so let me
without
I
without
hear
you
you.
feeling like, oh my gosh, are
Before
you saying I have a problem?
right. So here's what happens. You see, the greatest fountain that we can ever learn from is called wisdom, right?
Perfect.
Uh, uh, Wisdom comes from um, listening, right?
I was about to say from King Solomon.
Right. So wisdom comes from the no, that's fine, right? So unless all these issues, Amanda, that the fact that you and I are having this discussion, right? If we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
exercise wisdom in this conversation, we're going to offend people, and we're going to
that's it.
insult people, and then we're going to
That's it.
lose people, right? So
That's
even
it.
if the intent is good, in the absence of wisdom, you could falter. So
Hmm.
even if your intention to tell me that, babe, I think you reacted this way because you're
Mm,
traumatized about this event that you told me that happened in your family,
mm,
you could lose
mm.
me in that, right? If you
Hey.
exercise wisdom, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
it's very difficult to untie this here, but I'm going to try and untie it for you without sounding like a.
mm.
Okay, we'll get to that part just a little bit.
Okay.
The point of the matter is, before you start searching, this is what I think.
Hmm.
Before, when we do conflict resolution, we always say address the incident, right?
Okay.
You address the particular
The
incident.
current,
You don't,
the
yeah,
current.
you don't the current problem. You don't generalize it.
Okay.
So imagine I was very, my wife brought it to my attention. She was
Mm,
very wise, and she always dropped nudges of the fact that she thought that I hadn't grieved the death of my father, right?
mm, mm,
And so she would never say to me, if something bad
mm.
happens and I must emotion, if she had come to me and said, I think you've got a problem with exercising emotion because really and truly you haven't actually dealt with the death of your father. If she said, if she made reference off of an incident that we are currently arguing with, right? Let's say we're arguing
Right.
about the bin, right? Let's say we're arguing about the bin. Okay, it's a Sunday morning. She says to me, but I thought you took out the bin yesterday. I thought you took out the bin yesterday. You know, but this is what we were doing.
Absolutely.
Listen, it's a Sunday
Mhm,
morning, 22
mhm,
years after my father died, right? We're
mm.
about to go to church. Michelle says, I thought that you took out the bin yesterday. Then I say, we're late
Right.
for church. Let's not talk about bins, right? And then she
Right.
says to me, why are you so abrasive on Sunday mornings, right?
Mm,
And then I say to her, I don't know what you're calling abrasive. I think we should go now. I can take out the bin anytime. And then she says
mm,
to me, you know what? You've got a problem. I think your problem is that you are not empathetic to what I'm talking to. I think that you don't understand how emotions work, the way I'm feeling when I see you in. I think this actually stems from the fact that even when your dad died, I don't even think you grieved. Or I think that triggered you somehow. Imagine if she said something like that. Even if the two incidences were closely related, I would feel like you are attacking me based on what you think, and you're not addressing the issue that we have. So the rule number one is, even if you are a spouse and you identify that there's something going on with your spouse, or they might have conflict, number one, you might not be the best person to bring it to their attention.
What? Oh my gosh. You know what? Oh gosh. Speak about alignment, man. Speak about alignment. And you just nailed it, because we actually have another episode which we're going to be talking about that. Exactly that.
Right. So
but anyway, we're not going to get into
it. The fact that you know what I'm going through doesn't mean that you are or you have the solution. Sometimes maybe the person that needs to talk to me about not grieving my father is my sister. Maybe it's my brother. Maybe it's someone that can relate to what was going on at the time, right?
Right.
Because you came and you don't know what this issue was like around about that time. So the problem is when you put yourself in a position of being a savior and you say, I see what's wrong with my husband, I'm going to fix it. My wife has got this problem. I will address it with her. Maybe that's not your cross to carry, right? I think.
But so then what's the point of having a partner then? If you're not, what's the point of having a partner if a partner is not going to be able to carry the cross with you?
Right. So the point of knowing is not to tell me that you know. Sometimes, if I told you, for example, you know why people, you see, the reason why people are not trusted with truth is because they can't handle truth.
Truth hurts.
No. Not truth hurts. Yeah, that's fine. But trusting you with the truth, Amanda, is you knowing that let's say we work together in a restaurant, for example, right? And then you and I become friends. You're a waitress, I'm a waiter. We become friends. We become really close friends, right? Not physically or emotionally, but emotionally, we're cool. And then one day I say to you, Amanda, you know what did I ever tell you what struggle I went through? You're like, what? I'll be like, I've got a cocaine problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going through, so I went through rehab 3 times. So sometimes when I come to work, I'm struggling with this thing, right? The fact that I've trusted you with my truth, right? What you're going to do with my truth is how you are judged on whether you can handle truth. Because if you take that truth and go to our coworker and say, this nigga's got a, that's why he always. So when I come into the shop, you've told everybody about my issue, right? People have made all sorts of judgment. Then I react a certain way, and then someone says, "Well, you're a cokehead anyway. No one listens to you." I'm gonna look at you like I only told you. You told them, right? So because of that shame, I'm not going to trust you with truth. The real reason I think people should know the truth is so that we can love better, right? That's the only reason why people are given access to truth. If you know that I've got a cocaine problem, now you can relate to me. So when you see me late, or if I say I don't have money, you're like, oh snap, could I start it again, right? And then you see, now you sympathize with me because you know my situation. See, there's not a lot of sympathy in the world. That's why people don't want to talk about their situations. Because if I know, if I knew, see, the thing is, if I knew that I had self-esteem issues, right, and I shared that with you, I feel like I'm going to tell other people, and then, so it's the shame. I don't trust anyone with my truth because I'm like, people will use it against you, right? And that's the contradiction of the Bible, right? Because the Bible says that you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. The world says, tell the truth, you're in trouble. So if I say to
you, no, but then sometimes though, if you tell the truth, it'll save you though. Think about it though. Sometimes if you tell the authorities, let's put the authorities in the mix. If you tell the truth, it'll set you free for real.
But I'm talking on the context. I'm talking on the context of outing yourself, right?
Right.
Where you say, I'm going to live my truth, guys. I've got a pornography problem. right? I've got a
Right.
porn
Yeah.
guys. I'm raising my hand.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going through, right?
Pastor
A lot
my
of
time.
guys will
Yeah.
be like, yeah, man. A lot of guys will be like, yeah, man, that stuff's dangerous. Yeah, you need to stay clear. These people are probably going through the same thing. The problem is, if I share that truth with you, you start making jokes around that. You're going to start exposing me. You're going to start judging me based on that. People are scared of being judged, right? So remember, whatever bit of truth you share exposes you. And once you're
Absolutely.
exposed, the world tends to take advantage of that. So they think, but the real point is you want to live in truth so that nothing else can whisper in your ear when you go to sleep.
That's it. Peace.
That's what you're really looking for, right? Looking for peace. So truth brings peace, right? Because Amanda, if you think that I have got money, if I started dating you and you thought I had money, right? I
No,
would
if you lied
be,
to me, that you have money.
or if you thought it, because it's easy. It's easy to see where you're going with that. I can tell you where you're going with that, right? You're going to men lie. You don't like to tell the truth exactly for that reason. You're about to go men lie. You're not saying women are gullible. You know, no one ever says. You know, no one ever says. No one ever says man, female is gullible. Everyone says men are liars.
That's it, because they do lie.
Amanda, women are gullible.
Are they?
There is no mantra that goes around saying women are gullible. It
No.
says men are liars.
That's
Listen,
it.
Amanda, let me tell you. Okay, Amanda, I don't have to lie to you that I've got. Let me tell you. I could sit
Okay.
here,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and convince you that I've got money. I could. Not by
You
saying
know.
I've got
Yeah.
money. No,
I've
no.
got money. Yeah.
Wait.
The
Not by
way you
saying
carry
I've got money.
yourself.
By acting like I've got money. Right?
You just reminded me. Yeah.
If I wanted to show you I was busy without telling you I was busy, do you know what I'd need to do with
Yeah.
you? I'll take you on a date, right? I'll get there,
Uh,
I would sit down, I'll put my phone down, and I'll be like, this is how I'd sit. I'll be like, whew, hey, busy day, hey? And you'll be like, oh, really? What do you then say, hold on. And I'll be like, your mic. And I'll be like, your mic. I told you guys, no meetings after 7. Anyway, tell the guys that I'll be ready for the board meeting tomorrow at 7. Thank you so much. And I'll be like, yo, sorry, man. Sorry about that. Are we ready to order? And before we order, my phone rings again, and I'm like, guys, didn't I say? I said, do the transfer for Naidu tomorrow morning. Okay, please. I'm going to be there about 7. Okay, thank you. I'm creating an idea around the fact that you see, I don't have to say it. Then I'll remind you of something. Watch that movie, Tinder Swindler.
I'm not gonna watch it. I've already told people. A lot of people are asking me, "Oh, what's that there?" I'm not gonna watch it.
Why? You need to.
No, I'm not gonna watch it.
But do you know why
Because
you need to watch it though?
why? No. There's lots of disgusting things going out there. I mean, the world out there, honestly. Because when you look at social media dating, when you look not social media or online dating and stuff like that, it's stuff that I do not believe in, right? And because I've seen people go through, online dating and stuff like that, and what happens afterwards, and you see people lying and whatever, I would get mad.
Okay.
So I am not
So
going to
what I
watch it
wanted
because
you,
I will be angry.
the reason why I wanted you to watch it is I
Mhm.
didn't want you to say what you just said. You said you would get mad.
I would get angry. I
Why
would
would
get
you
angry.
No. But you've got no, unless you start putting yourself, you see, let me tell you, if you want to talk
But
about
that's the
men
thing,
issues,
though. But that's
right?
the thing, though.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you,
Uh-huh.
let me tell you, I just want to say this. If you want to talk about men issues, right? You have to be willing to put yourself in a man's shoes. So you need to start seeing the world. When you watch Tinder Swindler, you need to start seeing the world from his eyes and say, this guy thought that he was doing the right thing. Right?
But then that's
You
the
can't.
point.
If I
But
said
that's
I
the
wanted
but
to
that's
talk
the
about
point, Kuna. But that's the point. And then I'm like, well, this guy should have done. You understand? Like, why would you not have done this? Why would you have done this? What? Because now I'm the audience, right? I am watching it from as an audience where I kind of know
as what? As what gender? As what gender?
My guy is reality.
No. If you say that, then I've got a problem. Let me tell you what my problem becomes. No, but you see, everyone wants to talk about the fact that we need to talk about men issues, right?
Right.
I see it. But no one wants to. The reality is, if you want to talk
But then,
about
okay,
men's issues,
okay. So
I would
the
have to
thing
give
is,
you a situation. I'd have to give you a situation, and then
mhm,
you would tell me
mhm.
why the man is wrong and why the female is wrong.
Okay, try me.
Right? Let me
Mhm.
let me think. Let me think of a
Try me.
marriage scenario. Okay.
That's it. Try me.
Um.
I
Say.
think I've seen enough. I think I've seen enough. God help me. I think I've seen enough to the point that us having this discussion, honestly, Kuda, is like you're saying right now. I need to step in the men's shoes. How about right now we're asking, what's the problem? You understand? What is causing these high suicide rates? What is causing abuse in marriages or relationship? What is causing the high rate of divorce? You understand? All that stuff. And you tell me from a man's point of view, because I am coming from a woman's point of view as a nurturer, as somebody who we were actually talking about this thing that when you don't have money as a man, yeah, of course, a woman will be like, adios. And then when you have the money, you're gonna gallivant with so many women because guess what? You feel like the man, you feel so generous. So you tell me, let's go.
Sorry, there was something wrong with the connection there.
Okay, where did you lose me?
No, I lost you at money. I lost you at money. If you've lots of money, then you feel like you're the man.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
it.
Amanda.
And be so
Yeah.
generous to the rest of the world of the opposite sex.
Let me tell you what's difficult. Let me tell you what's difficult for you, right? Where you might find a bit of a challenge is that you can't escape nature, right? You can't
Okay.
escape nature in a sense where even if you try and see things like a man or to understand a man, you will flip flop between your real nature, which is a female.
Okay.
You understand? So you will react like a female.
No,
Sometimes men are
Steve Harvey wrote "Act like a lady, think like a man." So
that's
he wrote my.
well
He
when
wrote
you say
my.
yeah, when you say and know it and how much weight is I can give you insight into a man's world, right? If you if you wanted men, if you as a female, do you know what you would do for males as a huge favor? Is if you
Okay.
start saying, let me tell you how a female works or how a female thinks.
I've said that so many times. Let me tell you
Because
from
that's
a
the only
female's
thing. Let me tell you
perspective,
why.
and I will say it's not 100%, but I am saying from a female's perspective and from what I have seen. Do you understand? Okay, let's do this. Go ahead. Continue.
Wait, no, I need to. Here's what I'm trying to. I'm trying to paint a picture for you here. You are foreign to our tribe. You're a female.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you come into a man's camp and say to them, "Excuse me, let's talk about your emotions," I'll be like, "I'm not talking to you about my emotions. You're not one of us.
Excuse me.
You're a female. You can't relate. You can't relate. You don't know. You don't know how to relate. Like for you as a female, there is never an excuse for a man to put his hands on a female, right? That's what you think, right? Right? Not all men agree with that notion. Not all men agree with that notion. Because you as a man have never been pushed by a female to the brink of just saying, you know what? I'm not talking about beating up women. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about beating up women. I'm not talking about domestic violence. Don't get me twisted. I'm not endorsing that. Right? Let's bring clarity. I'm saying you have never ever thought or have never been put in a position where you're like, Lord help me, right? So you don't know if I was having this discussion with a guy on the other side and he'll be like, Kuda, you don't have to tell me, bro. There was a day where I was like, a guy can relate. So remember, I told you about the stages, right? Men need people men need other men that are by the door. They need other men that are in the fire. Then they need other men that are on the other side, telling them that don't worry about what you're going through. I smoke cigarettes as well, right? You can go through. Or another man that says, bro, I also smoke. And another guy that says, I'm thinking of starting. Right? So the guy who
Right.
thinks, wait, here's where it works.
Mhm.
The guy who thinks
Mhm.
they should start, they have to hear from me. Because I'll be like, bro, this thing is not worth it. Trust me. Right? I
Mm,
smoke. You don't want to start.
mm,
The guy
mm,
that's inside with me says to me, Kuda, I used to smoke 20. I'm now only on 4. He's giving me hope that I can cut down, right?
mm,
Then
mm.
we meet another dude that says, I smoked for 20 years and I stopped. I haven't been smoking for 10 years. So at every stage of where men are, they need other men that are either at the door, in
Mm,
it, and have
mm.
left it. Every man
Question,
needs those friends. Yeah.
question, question. I will tell you something
Hmm.
interesting, which I think this could actually be a calling in a way, which is why we're actually exploring this topic, cherishing the men. Lately, I've had different men come to me as a female, not come to me as in looking for me, right? But in
Hmm.
conversations, you find people opening up. And once they're done, they're like,
Hmm.
oh, done. I don't normally do this. You just made me feel
Right.
comfortable to talk about. And late, and
Correct.
I laugh. And lately, I'm at a point where I'm like, but why? Do you understand? And that's a huge question that I've been asking myself. But why am I
Do
carrying
you want
all
me to
these
do you
burdens?
want me to tell you what I think it is?
Come on now.
Because you listen with no judgment.
But that's it. So that's my point. So are you saying most women judge? Is that where it goes to? Because I totally that's it. Because when I look at people, when I say are men not humans too? Do you understand? It's because I believe everybody deserves an equal amount of, maybe we could say, love, understanding, being heard, justice. I believe everybody deserves that. Even if somebody goes through injustice, I believe everybody deserves a second chance. Do you understand? Because life
Right.
happens and
Right.
whatever. But without anybody knowing, okay, Koda, you said it's because I don't judge, right? But what about somebody that you meet on, they don't know me? It's been happening. They don't know me to even think that I am, maybe I'm judgmental or not judgmental. And they're like, you know
That's
what?
just a
I've been
kind.
holding on to
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that
They
being
don't
said,
know
that's
you.
why
They
to
just met
me,
you.
they just met me and they're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I am just pouring out A, B, C, D. This is what I'm going through. And this
But
is,
I'll tell you what it
I
is,
for
though.
some reason. Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
tell you
yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Men lie. Women lie. Numbers sometimes lie. You know what really doesn't lie?
Okay.
Energy doesn't lie. The energy that you carry doesn't need you to say anything. Have you ever been in
That's
a
it.
room where you walked in and you just felt welcomed enough to want to take off your shoes when, right? Because the
But
people
that's
in the
me.
house were like, yo,
I just get it. I'm like,
yo,
yeah.
that, so immediately, so let me tell you,
Yeah.
immediately I feel like, oh, this chick is good vibes, right? And she talks and she laughs, she says a joke here and there.
Mm,
I feel like,
mm,
so I'm saying to you, you don't have to say much for people to say you've got good energy. If you walk into a bad energy room, everyone could be smiling and you can walk out there and be like, those people don't like me because energy doesn't lie. I can smile
mm,
all I can, but if I don't like
mm,
you, you can sense that. You can sense that this person is a listener. This person is a
mm,
carer, right?
mm,
So that's
mm,
why
mm.
maybe it's so immediate for people who just met you to, to want to open up to you. The point
Okay.
really is when people do open up to you,
Mm.
sometimes as a one of your greatest strengths is that you're a good listener. I mean, that's why you've got a talk show, right? Because you listen well. The,
And I
the
talk
point
well
is,
too.
yeah, yeah, you just need to find the balance. You just need to find the balance. But you can't carry this if you don't listen. That's the thing.
That's it.
And
Mm.
when someone shares their story with you or what they're going through, sometimes they don't want a solution from you.
That's
They
it.
don't want advice. They don't want you to open your Bible and tell them about your Jesus. Because y'all are
Mm,
quick to just say, God knows it. God's got you. Just go pray about it. Thank God that you're
mm,
still alive. People are going through real stuff. People don't want motivation. At some point,
mm.
I just need you to look at me and just say,
It's gonna
and
be all
just
right.
say nothing until I get up and leave. Sometimes I just need you
Mm,
to say to me, it's going to be fine. Sometimes
mm,
I do want the advice, right?
mm,
So,
mm.
as a person that's been trusted with information, the next step is what do you do with the information? because you will fall into the temptation of wanting to fix, which
That's
is what the
it.
problem is.
That's it.
People don't like to be fixed, and yet human
Mm-hmm.
nature says that if someone approaches you with a problem, your immediate reaction is to try and fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not in
Yep.
all
Yep.
instances that people share stuff with you that they want you to fix them. Sometimes they just wanted to speak
Right. Yeah.
and at least
Yep.
let it out. That's why people write suicide notes and say, I just didn't feel like I could talk about this. And you'll be like, but you had a mouth,
Mm,
but there were people around you, but you had friends, whatever. It means that
mm,
they haven't seen an environment that's safe enough to be
mm.
vulnerable.
That's it. Oh God.
There's not a lot
So,
of
in
safe
conclusion, though, we're
places.
running out of time. So, in
So there's not
conclusion,
enough. So
mhm. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry,
Sorry. Go ahead.
okay,
Okay.
I
No, I
just
was
wanted to
saying.
say,
Okay.
if you
Okay. Go
want,
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll go. So if you want, it's not difficult. Let me tell you, it's not difficult for men to share, even with their spouses, right? That is the point of marriage and the union. Because in a perfect world, with a perfect Adam, in a perfect garden, right?
Mm,
A perfect
mm,
world, a perfect God,
mm,
a perfect
mm,
garden, a perfect
mm,
Adam.
mm,
God still says, this man needs help.
mm,
And then in he brings the female. So if in
mm,
God's perfect garden, God's
mm,
perfect Adam still needed help from a
mm,
female, a
mm,
man does need that companionship, right? It's very
mm,
important. The
mm.
only thing that the female needs to ensure of is that she creates a safe space for
Environment.
vulnerability.
That's it. That's it. That's
Otherwise,
it.
your guy is going to start coming to Amanda, right? And this one has to start going to this one. It's like how
Mm,
my issues around what's going on with me,
mm,
I should be able to say to my wife, you know what? I
mm,
think I know. I think I know what I dealt with. You know, when my
mm,
dad died, my
mm,
dad was my biggest cheerleader, right?
mm,
And so when he died, because my dad would celebrate me everywhere. He would be like, he thought I was the best thing that ever happened to the world. He thought I was the most
mm.
smartest. He bought me newspapers, whatever, whatever. And he always told me that I was great. And he always told me that I was amazing. He always told me that I was
Mm,
going to be amazing. When he
mm,
died, watch what happened. I'm in grade 7 holiday. So I'm going to finish
mm,
off with the personal story. Otherwise, all we're talking is motivating. So when my dad
mm.
died in 2000 and, geez, in 2001, and
Oh
then
dear, I'm
I got
sorry.
sent to boarding school. Watch what
Mm,
happens. My dad dies in December. I get sent to boarding
mm.
school in January. So my biggest cheerleader is dead. Dead. Jeez, that's so strong. I'm sorry.
I
My biggest
know. Crossed
my,
over. Thank you.
my biggest cheerleader is no longer there, right?
That's it.
The guy that told me that, man, I'm gonna be fine. I'm actually gonna take you to boarding school, right? I'm gonna take you on the first day. I'll still be fine. And then
Mm,
he just wasn't there anymore. So number one, I feel like this nigga has betrayed me because he told me, he gave me his word. He said, I'm gonna be fine, I'll take you to school.
mm,
He's my biggest cheerleader. Now I'm going to school, to boarding school with the random. I was telling my wife that, when my mom, my brother, and my sister walked into the doors of Goromonzi High School, because that's where I went,
mm,
I looked at other people's family units and I always looked like it was the weakest. Other people had their dads, you know.
wow.
And I wanted to say to these boys, I also had a dad last month. Not last
Mm,
year, last month, because my
mm,
dad had died in
mm.
December. And I looked
And
at
you're
all
also
them, and
still young to you're still young to process
I'm
this too,
young,
right?
right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking at my
yeah.
mom, who's also trying to deal with the death of her husband, who was a pastor.
Mm,
And this nigga's only 40 years old, so he's not old. He
mm,
didn't die of old age.
mm,
Everybody's confused,
mm,
and yet now they have to send me off. And I'm looking at all these boys, and they're so proud of their dads.
mm,
Dads like, son, don't forget, Sean,
mm,
and
mm,
I'm looking there, and I'm like,
mm,
this could have been me if this nigga hadn't died 2 months ago. Surely he could have gone
mm,
in February. At
mm,
least represent me,
mm,
right?
mm,
So you can
mm.
imagine what I went through between grade from 1, and I was a bright student, Amanda. From
Mm.
David Livingston. I was very
That's what
bright.
I wanted
I
to say.
just
I was
didn't have
like, guys, since primary school. That's how I know this guy.
I
So people
barely
would be
get.
wondering,
Let me tell
how
you.
does a man how do
Yeah,
go
David
ahead.
Livingston. So anyway, here's what happens. So I barely, how I got my O levels. I got 5 O levels to the T. I wasn't that guy. I was a straight A student, right?
Mm, mm,
That's the effect. Don't. that's the effect of that change or switch up in my life. I started doubting myself a lot. That stuff carried me even until my 30s, bro. When I was like,
That's it. I
everyone
get it.
sees me like this.
I
Everyone
get
sees
it.
me talking like this, and
I
people thought,
get
oh my
it.
God, you're the most confident guy in the world. But
And you
sometimes I
have it
sit
all
there.
together. You have. I get
But
it. I
sometimes,
get you.
but sometimes I sit there and I'd feel so small, right?
Yeah.
And I'd feel like people and everyone saw how great I was except for me. Everyone's like, bro,
Yeah.
you write what you can sing, and everyone thinks that you're amazing. I look at me and I'm like, are these people okay? My self-esteem is cut
I
up into
get you.
pieces because
I
no one ever
get you.
celebrated me. So what happens
I
if you
get
don't
you.
have self-esteem? You know what you always look for? You always look for validation.
Validation. That's it.
So do you know who you put pressure on? Validation. You put pressure.
Mm.
I start putting pressure on Michelle to
And
validate
people.
everything I do.
Mm.
No, but never, I'm talking about now relationships. I'm talking about my story. So I start putting a lot of pressure on
Mm.
Michelle
Your
to
partner.
validate me at every turn.
Mm.
And I can start saying she's insensitive because she doesn't clap for me. But it's not that she's
Mm.
insensitive. That's the normal reaction. I am just inadequate because my biggest cheerleader died 20 years
Mm.
ago.
And you didn't deal with it.
And I didn't. And no, never mind dealing with it. I didn't know until like 3 years ago, right? When you
Mm.
start digging,
Mm.
right? And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. That's what, because in the things that you do normally that people don't have to celebrate, I'd write something nice. Like I'd write a lot of stuff and I would show them to people just so they can tell me that they were good. Right? And so when people get bored of seeing your work, they're like, what's wrong with you? You know you're good. And I'm like, I don't. I need you to validate me. And that because I lost my self-esteem because my cheerleader died. So the effect of childhood trauma, just to wrap it up, of unresolved childhood trauma in relationships is that if you don't know what your insecurities are, if you don't know what traumatized you, in order for you to deal with that stuff, you will take it to this person that you call wife or husband, and you say, how come you don't validate me? How come you don't treat me like my mom? How come you don't take care of me like what my dad died? Or how come you didn't do this like this? So if you don't, so this is you have to go back and deal, right? And come back and not expect too much from one person. So I expect my wife to validate me at every turn, and she's tired now. She's tired of living with somebody that's insecure, that just wants to be clapped for, right? So she's not tired because she's a mean person. She's tired because I'm too deep in my inadequacy that I keep asking for validation. So if I don't get it from her, I'm talking to somebody else. I mean, I'm talking to prayer. I'm talking to it. So what happens is that you just live in this world where you expect validation from a lot of people. And that's when you start expecting things. Let me tell you, if you prescribe your happiness and your joy to people's emotions and reactions and words, you will be the saddest person. That's where emotional intelligence comes. That's where if Amanda, I depend on you as a best friend to call me every day at 8 p.m. for me to have sleep well. Right? The day you don't call me, I'll be like, but we always do this at 8. I didn't sleep today. The power over myself. If you're expecting a man to make you happy, when there is no man, you will always be sad, right? If you think that money will make you happy, even when you don't have it, you are not happy. When you've got too much of it, you're reckless. So the point I'm trying to make, Amanda, so it's all intertwined. But unless we start turning the mirror from our spouses, right, and turning it back to ourselves, and saying, what is it about me, right? You can't complain that every boyfriend that you've had, Amanda, left you because they said you had a temper, right? So you've got 4 boyfriends telling you you've got a temper. You keep saying men are unreasonable, men don't understand, and yet you don't say maybe I do have a temper. People are scared of looking at themselves. You have to say, let me tell you, I was training a group of waiters last week. And I've got a method that I use. I've used it every restaurant I've gone to. It works. My method works. This particular group that I'm training, Amanda, I look at them and I'm like, I can't get through to you. For the first time, my method is not working. So I called a friend of mine who's also a hospitality guy, who's my friend. I said, please, can you come here? I need you to come and talk to these people because I can't get through to them. He went, he spoke to them, he came out, he said, fine, they know the menu. You're just intimidating them too much. And then I was like, oh. So I didn't say, They're crazy. How can they call me intimidating? I said that in the first place. I said,
Mm-hmm.
no. I'm creating scenarios for them because there's more intimidating people at the restaurant, right? That was an excuse I was giving. When I got back home, I said, maybe you have been a little too intimidating.
Intimidating. Yeah.
You didn't do this. I had to turn the mirror at me.
And self-evaluation is important. Self-evaluation is really important, which a lot of people are afraid to do, unfortunately.
But do you know what people are so happy to do in relationships? Spouse evaluation. No.
Well, of course.
There's no point, Amanda.
Of course.
But it's very difficult. Yeah. You can evaluate that. But what you want to do first is, do you know you? That's why the process of dating is so important, right? Because before you get caught up with somebody or start living with someone or whatever, you know enough about you, Mandy. Right?
That's it.
Are you you know enough about you? Because you're going to, and this is the thing about marriage, you always discover parts of you that you never knew existed. And I think that's the beauty of it. That's it. Right? Because at some point, I mean, I discovered stupid things about myself. I was like, I really like fish. My wife made me fish. I came into this marriage saying I don't eat fish. And I was like, I'm telling you, I never had a sweet tooth.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm talking about silly things, right? Because I walked into this marriage without a sweet tooth. Like I ask anyone in my family, I don't eat sweet things. Now I scramble for them. Like a little, like I'm looking for my sugar high, right?
Oh
God! Because of the person that I live with, my wife bakes. That's what she does.
Right.
Of course, I'm going to. So the environment in which you now live in has got the ability to change you. Fall in love with yourself. That every day you wake up, you don't know what part of you you're going to discover. Right? You can wake up thinking you're a calm person. You can wake up thinking you're a calm person until someone provokes you. So when you wake up in the morning, just say, I'm happy for the day that I'm getting and what version of me, God, you want to expose. Because you're going to learn more about yourself. And that happens in marriage as well. Right?
Hey,
you learn about yourself based on the person.
Can I tell you a surprise about me that really shocked me too? Huh?
Yeah.
I was surprised I was patient. Hey, I even woke up and I was like,
Amanda, that is true love. Or not in love. You discover your patience.
I was like, I am patient. Every time I always told people, I'm not patient. I'm not patient with this. I'm not patient with that. I'm not patient. Until I went out of something and I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was patient. You understand? I even gave a pat on my back. I gave myself a pat on the back. I was like, wow.
You see what you did there? Amanda, you see what you did there by giving yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Many times, let me tell you what happens. Many times we don't celebrate ourselves enough.
It. Yeah.
And so we wait. What do we do? Exactly. So what always happens is if you don't take time to celebrate yourself, you will always wait for others to celebrate you. But that's not what's scary. What's scary is that you get mad when they don't, and yet they don't know. No, and yet they don't know that being, celebrated is important to you. Amanda, if you never tell me that if you don't tell me that birthdays are important to you, right? I'll give you a scenario between me and my wife. Oh, I love these. I didn't.
And then we need to round off. This is your last example.
So when I in my family we celebrate birthdays like, hey, it's your birthday, right? Happy birthday. Then I'll sing you a song. Happy birthday. We put the phone.
Yeah.
That's birthdays in my family, right? We never. My wife's family, she celebrated a birthday. When she had a birthday, she had cake, she had candles, she had a party, right? I don't grow up to a place where there's parties. So on birthdays, my wife really wants to make her birthday thing. I could not have been bothered when we started dating, right? So I'm like, oh, so off the bat, she doesn't tell you. She just makes subtle hints, right? But, right? Until you get that. So, and then if you don't understand where she came from, you will say, I don't know why you want to be fancy on your birthday. You've missed it. You need to know the person that you're with so much, where they came from.
Did you just see that?
Yeah. So again, Amanda, the basis of any, for any marriage, especially with not dating, marriage is very important because you're now in a commitment. And the good book says, and the two shall become one. So if you're a child of God and you believe that you and your partner are now one person, the Bible says, the Apostle Paul says that there's neither now Jew nor Gentile, there's neither no male nor female in this new covenant, right? So you now don't look at my man. So if I'm intertwined with something, I need to know everything about it because it is me. I am it, right?
That's it.
So I'm not learning. I'm learning Michelle for her and for me. If I know that my wife doesn't like cushions that are not fluffed, I don't say, well, I don't. I just say, oh, okay, if this means so much for you, I'll try and make an effort every time I stand up, right? Because I'm not really committing to say, okay, I'm going to do it. Because I'm a man. I have to give myself room for the days that I don't. So the idea is, and that's where the compromise of marriage comes in. So before you deal with traumas, number one, the key thing for me is you got to learn who you are, right?
Absolutely.
What am I and what triggers me? Because if you tell me what triggers, if you know what triggers you, you can communicate your triggers without being rude and say, you know what? I just want to say there's something that happened last week, right? You said something to me and I felt like you are attacking me, right? You've made me aware of the trigger. So let's say I don't
how
know
it made you feel, and how it made you feel is important.
Exactly. So what you have to identify. So people sometimes get mad. If I say to you, Amanda, you're stupid, right? And then I come back and I say, Amanda, I'm sorry that I wait. Then I come back and I say, Amanda, I'm sorry that I said that you're stupid, right? If I don't know what the effect of that I'm stupid was to you, I'm just saying sorry for the sake of it. Until I understand that you say to me, Kuda, when you called me stupid, you completely discredited all the work that I've done in the last 15 years. And I'll be like, shucks, that's what you thought I meant? I was just being stupid. Because you don't know what you're unraveling by being careless with your tongue. Right?
I love the fact that you end up calling yourself that, which is good.
So it's being able. So generally I think that we are headed in the. I think what I appreciate about these conversations, Amanda, do you know what it is? It's understanding, like I said in the very beginning, that this is not law. This is purely how I deal and the way that I think of things. But what I really appreciate about the work that you're doing, right, is the fact that you are making it possible for us to even have this conversation.
That's it.
Right?
And we have
because we're not trying to find the solution because we might be chasing a rabbit that we can never kill. But what we're doing, what you're actually essentially doing is creating a platform, even for discussion, for someone to say, I watched Kuda and Amanda talk about some stupid thing, right? Because people take whatever they want. But the fact that it's in the public domain, and I think that's what the role of what you guys are doing, independent media, is to now just, you are the voice, you are the voice, YouTube channels and these sort of meetups are the voice. And the ones with the voice have to be able to speak. I applaud the work. Yeah, you have to use these platforms to bring awareness. The thing is, if we chase conclusions, if we chase solutions, we will never find them. All we'll do is we'll write books and manuscripts that say 10 ways to deal with your spouse, and 15 ways to know that you're with the right partner, and 12 ways to deal with childhood trauma. Those are just based on what they were doing at that time. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with literature. I'm saying, but if we start having real conversations with real people in real situations, we might achieve more.
And even I don't remember who. Thank you so much for even saying that, the last bit, because I am trying to remember who said we need to unlearn what we already know. We need to unlearn what we've already learned, because we live in an era where people are now discovering that how we were raised was based off of maybe out of protection, but without exploring, without living life and having to experience life. You understand? And then having to put some sort of rule or wall or how things are supposed to be done. Take, for example, men are not supposed to show emotion because it'll be a sign of weakness. But then guess what? You're holding in a lot of things, which you end up lashing out to the next person. You're holding on to some, because apparently you're taught you're not supposed to express emotion, right? And yet we're all human. We need to create that room to be able to talk about these situations, to be able to express, whether female or male, regardless of gender, you understand? To say, you know what? I'm human. I felt this way. This happened to me today, and this is what it made me feel. And the next person, if they're empathetic enough, or if they really understand you enough, they need to be able to say, you know what, I do not want you to feel this way ever again. You understand? Not that they have to
Yeah.
verbalize it, but sometimes have that in you to just say, okay, now I see this is something that might hurt my friend. There's something that might hurt my husband, my wife, or whatever. You understand? And I just
And
wish
then,
this is the
yeah,
goal that I'm trying
well done.
to go at. To say, you know what? Let's create that room. We live without judging. Let's put it that way. And putting, and I like the first fact that earlier on you mentioned, have you ever put yourself in the man's shoes? Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Would
Yes.
you like it if somebody was to treat you that way? Do unto others
Right.
as you'd like them to do unto you. How are you going to
Right.
respond if they respond the way they're responding right now? Or you understand? So it's something that I'm like, okay, I have so many different people. We have so many, and you tackled on so many topics that we're gonna be talking on every, what you call it, every episode. We're gonna touch on grief.
Right.
Somebody who wrote on grief, a man who wrote on grief, who couldn't, for 10 years they were numb. Do you understand?
Wow.
Numb for 10
Right.
years. No one around them, no nothing. To me, that's a story right there. Until they wrote the book, until they released it. Do you understand? My problem is men don't hold in. We are here for you. And then now to the woman, excuse me, we want them to be, to be vulnerable and whatever, but that doesn't mean we need to judge them after the fact. Oh, so you're not man
Right.
enough to do this.
How do you recover,
Change the
Amanda?
way
But
they
how do
think.
you recover? Right. I
From
think
what?
what's more important, Amanda, yeah, what's really, really, really important is knowing truth. When
That's
you
it.
know your truth, let me tell you, when you know your truth, you actually have no fear of judgment. So what I don't
That's
want you
it.
to what I don't want you to what I want to emphasize and stress is love, right?
That's it.
And what I'm talking about self-love. Because if
That's
you
it.
love yourself, you can stand in truth. If you
That's it.
stand in your truth, right, it doesn't matter what you think, Amanda.
Yeah.
If I have
Yeah.
accepted the fact that I've got a big nose, that's my truth, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many big nose jokes you come at me with. I love me. I have accepted me. This is my truth. I will laugh with you and I will give you a comeback. So
Exactly.
if men know the truth about who they are,
Mm.
it's funny. A friend of mine sent me a message and said, "How do we?" He said to me, "Yo," just the other day. He said, "Yo, I'll read it to you. Let me just read it to you real quick, right?"
Okay, no
And
worries.
this is the last thing I will say, right? All right. This guy said to me, I won't mention his name. He
No
said,
need. Yeah.
"My good friend, this is last week. My good friend, we need a seminar, #how to understand women." Right?
Thank you. Hallelujah. Amen.
But you know what I said to him?
Okay.
I
Let's
said,
hear your comeback.
I
Oh,
said,
how to understand us as
this is my
men.
truth. I said,
Yeah.
that seminar will bear nothing. The seminar should
Mm.
be how to understand who you are as a man.
As a
The
man.
problem is not women, it's men who don't know who they are.
That's it. That's it.
It
You
doesn't
ask for
matter. You
so
don't
much.
need.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I want a strong, independent woman. You get the strong, independent woman.
You
You don't know
find
what
it.
to do
Then
with
you
a
get a
strong,
strong, independent woman. And
and then
you don't
you
know
don't
what
know
to
what
do
to
with
do.
her. Do you know why? So why are you blaming? So here's my question. Why do you want to blame the strong, independent woman for asking for more?
That's it.
What
But
you need, my friend, is you need to be very sure of who you are, right? If you know who you are, you can look and say, "Don't the turn that's no Shakira." Saka aukazochema utandrowa mari ka. Auchema utandrowa mari. Chama munhu wako saka mutauro kuti kuna asi wako. No, so point manje, Amanda, as men need to know who they are. If you know
I
your
love
truth,
this. I love
even
this.
I applaud females that know their truth. Do you know why? Females know their truth. The female knows exactly what she wants to do. Ndakambotaura nemunhu akanditi, "Ndakamuti iyo, ko I thought wakarambana ne zvikanzi aiwa pane dheni yandiri kubuda. Dheni ichibuda, ndiri kubva ndara darova shoes." Don't get shocked, right? Don't be zviri.
Oh, wow.
That's what you want to understand, men.
Right.
So this woman knows her truth. I don't judge her. I don't know what this guy has done to her for her to get to a point where she says, the only thing I want from you is a house. And he doesn't even know, right? So the moment I judge her and I say, what a gold digger. I don't need a mari. The day that she tells me what he did to her, right? Amanda, if I said to you, Amanda, could have killed a guy. Could have shot a guy in Durban, he killed him. Oh my God, but why would Kuda do that? I mean, Shamari killing a man in cold, done, gone, right? And then there were 3 guys attacking him. They were all 3 of them. They were armed, right? He shot one of the guys in self-defense. It doesn't look too badly, right, that I shot a guy, because now you've got context.
But that's the reason why I always say, what vamujeri wewe Kuda? Trust me, you deserve a second chance, because I don't know the whole truth.
Maybe a third, maybe a 4th, maybe a 10th, maybe 100. The point of
this is a story for another day, my guy. Before the time went out, I don't know about that one, because if it's a repeat offense, my guy.
Amanda, life is about choices, right? If you come to me and tell me that you were in an abusive relationship for 10 years, right? I don't condone domestic violence, but I'm saying at some point you could have made a choice to not be in that relationship.
Get out. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Because one time I said, unlike trees, man can move. Right? Humans can move. So don't cheat on your partner.
I know, right? Unlike trees. I remember that one. Yes.
So what I was trying to say is, if your partner is cheating on you, leave. Don't cheat back, because now you're acting out of character. If your boss is not paying you, don't steal from the till, because now you're going out of character. You're not a thief. Just resign. If your business partner is not paying dividends, don't steal from the business. Just dissolve the partnership. Life is about, you make the choices. That's why we say there is no such thing as bad staff, bad what, there's only bad management. Because at some point, the management has got a chance to change the staff. That's why no soccer coach, no footballer never gets fired. Only the coaches do, because they've got a choice to replace the non-performers. So generally in your life, you're not a tree. Move. This is not working for me. I'm out.
I love that, and thank you so much, Kuda. I know it's easier said than done, especially when you're not in the situation, you know. Yeah, especially when you're not in the situation. But I so totally appreciate it. It was such a pleasure having you over and being like on the alpha of this baby, as we discuss cherishing the men, which is going to be the topic of the whole season this season. And you've touched on a whole lot of things that are actually going to be a part of some of the episodes that we're going to have here. And thank you so much, Kuda, for your input. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to season 1.